Volume 5, Chapter 2, Journey, Part 2. Sato is here. Hiking is nice, isn't it? When you're surrounded by nature, fully inhaling the scents of trees and the plants, you completely forget about all the unpleasant affairs at work. After I finish taking care of the horses, I begin to compound for deodorant behind the wagon. I want to do something about the intense smells of the goat leather and wool. During compounding, Lisa comes to ask if the meal is fine without soup since the firewood isn't enough. It's cold, and the black bread without the soup would be too hard. I catch sight of the light hot plate beside me, which I've used to heat water for compounding. I decided to use this to help for cooking. After heating the soup with this, you could put the burning firewood until it's boiled. I'll leave the magic supply for the light hot plate to Arisa. Still, I didn't think that gathering for fuel would be this hard. I should have bought them in Seiryu City. I'll take out scrap woods from the storage if we get into a pinch. The fact that the item box will only store items with particular size is a bottleneck. I, who have been making deodorant behind the wagon, could smell the nice aroma from the soup. The finished deodorant is in the form of a white powder. I put it in a small bag, and it seems that you use it by mixing it together with a smell source. I take out the goat leathers and the wool from the storage and put them inside the item box in a small sack with the deodorant. Since there were too many to get inside, I leveled up the item box skill to level 4. Lisa comes to say that the meal is ready exactly after I finish my business, even though she probably didn't watch me. Now then, since the meal is ready, I should call Pochi and Tama back. I call them in a loud voice. Yep, let's buy a whistle when we get to a town. I do have whistles in my storage, but it'd be disastrous if I blow it and make a kaiju or an angel appear, so I won't. Après, nano desu. Pochi comes back while boastfully presenting a rabbit in her hand. The ears are short for a rabbit. According to the AR, it's called short-eared rabbit. Pochi is dirtied with grass and mud from the top of her head to her foot, but she's smiling nicely. I relay the rabbit I've received to Lisa. I praise Pochi while stroking her head. Since I can't let her have a lunch like she is, I put water to a bucket and wash her face and arms with it. I've made this policy from the time we were in the labyrinth before we had meals. So when she's presented with a water bucket, she's splashing the water around. Lastly, she shakes her head to remove the water without using a towel. This habit of hers is irreparable, it seems. Meat? I brought it. This time it's Tama who has come back. Her voice comes from behind. I wonder what Tama caught. Is it a bird? Meat! Nano desu? Pochi tilts her head in puzzle midway. When I turn back, the thing that Tama holds is about a 80 centimeter high rat. Or not. The AR shows that it's a rat man. The rat man seems to be unconscious, but at least he's still alive. Tama, please let that one go. While looking a bit sad, Tama says, Pray? No good? She's coming here while tilting her head. I almost allow it involuntarily. But let's not eat men. I should teach her about this gradually. You'll hurt your stomach, so no. Ai. Tama begins to spin on the spot while still holding the rat man. Then she throws the rat man across the meadow. Oi oi, that was too wild no matter how you look at it. The rat man has his HP decreased by a little, but it seems to be alive. Since we treated him too rough, I decided to check if he has any external wounds. Before that, I scold Tama properly. The rat man doesn't seem to have any injuries. According to AR, he doesn't have any skills. Age 2. As expected of rats, they grow fast. He's grasping something that looks like a ball of mud in his hand. But since I have no interest in it, I leave it alone. It's probably this child's box lunch. Since he only seems to have fainted, I put him on a meadow a bit away from our camp. I put several fruits beside him as a remuneration for the trouble. On the other hand, Lisa has quickly dismantled the rabbit that Pochi caught, and she is grilling it now. The entrails have been washed, then properly cut into tiny pieces by Lisa. and fried together with some herbs. By the way, we're using a dead tree from the other side of the boulder found by Tama as the fuel. My stomach is hungry no desu. Copycat is bad nano desu. Meat nano desu. Arisa demands for lunch while imitating as Pochi. Pochi protests at her. Tama follows suit. This is slightly amusing nano desu. Since the Ratman doesn't seem like he'll wake up, we decided to begin our meal. Lisa holds out the biggest piece of meat. I pass it to Pochi because she's the MVP this time. The second biggest one is given to Tama. She was no good with the prey, but she played an active role in securing the firewood. The meat of the rabbit is tender and delicious. I don't know whether this is because of Lisa being good at cooking or the fresh ingredient, but good food is good food. I offer the herb-fried entrails, but since the meat is enough, I decline. Kasa kasa. Even if I don't look at the direction of the sound, I know from the radar that the Ratman who has awakened runs away. When I check on it later, the fruits have been properly taken away. I am enjoying a tea break with Lisa and Lulu after the meal. Lulu pours me the tea. She was taught in the royal court, even if it was just a small country. So the tea made by Lulu is on a different level than the one I usually drank. Truly delicious. Seemingly not at all dissatisfied when I praise her, even while acting humble, her face is smiling. Arisa follows Pochi and Tama along to go on a sightseeing of the boulders. The person itself said, "I'm surveying." Of course, but I could only see a pleasure trip on her mind from her tension. I searched the map while enjoying the tea's aroma. I tried to look for Ratman, but the only Ratman around here is the child earlier. I wonder if he's a lost child. From the map, there's a hidden village dozens of kilometers away southeast from here. So he's probably a lost child from a Ratman village outside of the Earl's territory. Fortunately, the lost child is running into the direction of the village, and the dangerous animals are only foxes. So he's probably going to be okay even if left alone. Since I was only searching for monsters' special attacks or level earlier, I had missed the Ratman. There might be thieves too, so I make an adjustment to the search pattern. There are thieves. Although there is quite a distance, and the highway is separated from the southeast mountain, so we probably won't encounter them anytime soon. Oh, when I narrowed it down further, red dots begin to rapidly appear on the screen. But there's nothing when I look around. Normally, insects or small animals won't be shown since I've made it off by default. When I face towards the nearby red dot, something is escaping. Is it a small animal looking for leftovers? If this was a game, then animals which likely won't be enemies would be excluded from the start. This is troublesome. I guess I should exclude anything with level 1 without poison. They won't hurt even if they bite anyway. Alright, I've excluded anything without poison or special abilities. The red dot still isn't decreasing. No, wait. When I look better, are those insects? Mosquito-like insects are flying. Furthermore, they have racial characteristic, blood-sucking. Right, mosquitoes suck blood, don't they? Let's put aside the setting only for when we go into the mountains or thickets, and exclude anything beside things with poison in normal situations. I'll do something about creatures I see for the first time with AR. If they're level 1, then eliminating them is trivial anyway. When I'm just about to finish the adjustment, I could hear Arisa's voice calling me from the top of the boulder. How did she climb that up? Is there anything? A bit. Come up on top of this rock. Pochi comes back from the back of the boulder while piggybacking Tama. Apparently, Arisa had made these two to be the stepping stone to go above. Arisa is unfair. Pochi also wants to go up no desu. Arisa stretches her arm to reach out, but it's impossible to pull us with one arm. Since the two people look eager to go on top, I raise them in turn. Although because I can't find scaffolds for myself, I jump up once to get there at a blind spot of Lisa and Lulu. See it from here. I look at the direction where Arisa points at. I'm seeing collapsed boulders there. What does Arisa want me to see? What am I seeing? Mo, look at it properly. I see. I finally understand what Arisa wants to show. Are those stones from the shrine's archway? I can only make conjectures since they've collapsed, but looks like there are 3 collapsed torii lined up. Maybe there was a shrine here. I stare at the remains of the torii stones. I tell Arisa the information from AR. I thought that they were just traces of megalithic civilizations, but it's a broken travel gate. It's a well-known gimmick for shortcuts when you're traveling in a game. The ones here seems to have been broken since ancient times, so I don't know how or if it's possible to repair. Hearing that, Arisa enthusiastically says, "You can fix it?" But I briefly answer, "Impossible." It is attractive to have shortcuts like the ones from games, but I'd like to refrain from jumping into an unknown location. I didn't think too much about this before I became the person concerned, but I wonder why games protagonists could so simple-mindedly go through gates. It seems that the boulders have magic catalyst properties. They momentarily react when I try to pour it magic. Although I don't want it to end up with, "You've been trapped inside a stone" situation if it malfunctioned, so I'll stop acting rashly. Right after we depart, the 3 little girls went straight to the dreamland. As soon as the wagon started running, they immediately went asleep. Probably because they're full. Arisa seems to have lost her physical limit too. "Master, could you possibly teach me how to drive the wagon?" "That's fine. You can sit here." I agree to Lisa's request and make a space on the coachman's stand. It'd be helpful to have people who could drive the wagon besides me. Let's teach the other members later. "Do you want to try it too, Lulu?" "Yes, I'd like to." I try to bring this matter to Lulu, who's sitting right behind me, and unexpectedly got a good answer. I stop the wagon for a moment and change places with Lulu while holding the reins from the luggage rack. I make Lulu to sit on the coachman's stand for training of her together with Lisa. First, it's about the operation of reins. I give Lisa the reins first. Hold the reins a bit loose, but be careful not to make it too loose. I teach the 2 like how Yosaku-san taught me. The 2 only make minor errors, which is normal for people who are tense, and have successfully learned how to drive. Lisa's driving is, though a bit rough, enough for a passing mark. She learned it several hours faster than me, and she's already at the level where she could replace me holding the reins. Education skill acquired. Lulu's driving is, although a bit more unreliable than Lisa, fine enough to drive in a flat plane. It'd be fine if she practices it little by little. While Lisa and I watch over her, the wagon driven by Lulu shakes and rumbles while proceeding along the highway between the hills.